Okay, that is our cue. It's 3:31 Eastern Time, so I'm going to go ahead and kick us off. Hello and good afternoon. Also, good morning to those in Alaska. My name is Audrey Bragg, and I'm a project officer on the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Block Grant Program, or EECBG for short. I work with local governments and tribes in the state of California, and I'm delighted to be here with you to talk about this exciting, flexible formula funding opportunity for tribes. I'd like to start with a bit of housekeeping. This webinar is being recorded and may be posted on DOE's website or used internally. If you do not wish to have your voice recorded, please do not speak during the call or disconnect now. If you do not wish to have your image recorded, please turn off your camera or participate only by phone. If you speak during the call or use video connection, you are presumed to consent to recording and the use of your voice or image. Okay, next slide. Before we dive into the program, I'd like to introduce you to my colleagues that will be joining us today. For DOE, I am joined by Rosie Ricketts, who is a technical project officer and supports entities in Alaska and the Southwest region. I am also joined by my colleague Shay Rapinski, who is also a technical project officer and supports the voucher side of the program. I will hand it over to Aubrey from the National Indian Health Board to introduce herself. Aubrey.
Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. My name is Aubrey Race. I'm a program manager with the National Indian Health Board, and I lead our TIC-TAC program, which provides technical assistance to tribes looking for access to federal funds. So right back over to you, Audrey.
Thanks, Aubrey. We're delighted to have everyone here today and ready to get going. Go ahead, next slide. Okay, what will we cover today? So I'll first give an overview of the EECBG program, and then we'll look at what can be done with program funds based on real examples from already awarded or approved projects. Next, we will talk at length about an alternative application, which is designed to reduce the administrative burden of the program, which is called the voucher side of, or the voucher option. We will also cover consortia versus teaming. Next, we will talk about the application steps and resources available to you throughout that process. And we will complete the presentation by discussing several misconceptions about the program, and we'll aim for at least 10 minutes for Q&A at the end. Please do not hesitate to drop your questions in the chat throughout. We will be keeping track of them, and we will come back to them at the end of the session. Next slide. All right, so we want to start with a little poll, and this is just to get a sense of how the EECBG program might benefit you. Please answer this poll by using the React feature. It's at the top of your screen, marked with a little smiley face. Once you press the button to react, yeah, there we go. It'll give you the option to send a thumbs up. Or if you're on camera, go ahead and give it the old-fashioned way. So go ahead and give a thumbs up if your tribe has at least one building that could benefit from weatherization, such as insulation, doors, windows. Okay. How about a thumbs up if your tribe has at least one building that could benefit from more efficient lighting? Okay. Could your tribe benefit from renewable energy generation, such as solar panels? And last, give a thumbs up if your tribe needs support with energy planning. Wow. All right. Look at all that. Okay. Well, thank you all for participating. We had a lot of thumbs up on each of those options, showing that there are current tribal community needs that align with just a few of the EECBG eligible uses. You are in the right place, and we'll be discussing in detail how this program can help meet those needs. Okay, let's begin. Next slide. And next slide. So what is the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Block Grant Program? It is a highly flexible formula grant program for which 774 tribes and Alaska Native villages and corporations received direct allocations for grants from the Department of Energy. These funds can be used for just about anything that promotes energy conservation or reduces emissions in your community. And the program was funded under the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law and is managed by the Department of Energy via the Office of State and Community Energy Programs, or SCEP. There are a few important things to remember about the program. First, the funding is highly flexible and formula-based. This program is allocated to tribes via a population-based formula, so this means it's not competitive. There are 14 eligible use areas, and they really do cover a wide range from building audits to energy efficiency retrofits. to strategic planning or workforce development. I would like to note that the average grant allocation for tribes is roughly 11,000 and the median is 10,000. The formula was unweighted. In the authorizing legislation, Congress required that 2% of the total EECBG program funds be allocated to tribes. Second, there are ways to streamline the administrative requirements when applying. First, DOE knows the applying and reporting on federal grants can require a significant administrative burden. We've created an alternative to the traditional application, vouchers for equipment rebates or technical assistance. And second, you can also pool funds with other tribes to maximize your impact via teaming or consortia. This reduces paperwork with only one application and consolidates reporting. The final most important thing to remember about this program is the deadline for tribes is May 31st, 2025. I want to strongly reiterate that this is one-time funding, so you must come and claim it by your deadline. Otherwise, we don't know if it'll be coming around again. Okay, next slide. So I mentioned before that this is a highly flexible program. Listed on this slide are all the eligible use areas of the EECBG program formula funds. I show this not to go into detail on each one, but to really give you a sense of the wide range of projects and programs that you could pursue with this funding. We will dive into the different types of projects shortly. The main takeaway here is that if you have an idea of how you can bring down energy use or emissions in your community, the EECBG program probably is a good avenue to at least partially fund it. Next slide. Okay, so DOE knows that applying for and managing federal grants can be very time consuming. We've heard that feedback loud and clear, and we've developed an option to streamline and shorten this process as much as possible. Vouchers for equipment rebate or technical assistance. So what is the difference between traditional grants and vouchers? So first, we'll start with the traditional grant. They provide the maximum amount of flexibility for your project. You can use funds for projects that incur significant administrative cost, such as paying for staff time or implementing a financing program. On the other hand, vouchers are a great option if you have a straightforward project in mind. There is a much smaller administrative burden, which is helpful if you have staff, helpful if your staff is capacity or resource restrained. There are two kinds of vouchers, equipment rebates and technical assistance. You can apply for an equipment rebate, technical assistance, or both. Technical assistance vouchers simplify the project planning by assigning a provider to you. This means you don't have to go through your own procurement process, which saves time for staff. On the other hand, equipment rebates provide a reimbursement for equipment that is purchased and installed. Equipment must be purchased after the application has been approved to qualify for reimbursement. Ultimately, the choice is yours to choose the application type that best suits your needs. Next slide. In addition to the traditional grant and voucher options, the EECBG program offers a couple ways of pooling or combining formula funding to help your dollars go further. Pooling funds offer several benefits like reducing the time it takes to apply by combining applications into one and consolidating the reporting requirements. Pooled funding is ideal for projects like purchasing bulk equipment, hiring a shared energy manager, or conducting a multi-tribe residential audit. The EECBG program offers two options for pooling funds. The first option is called teaming, and this is when a group of tribes pools their funds and selects a lead tribe to apply and manage and report on behalf of a team. The second option is the tribal consortium, and this option is exactly like teaming. However, the lead tribe can select a third-party entity, such as an inter-tribal organization, to prepare the application and manage the award. In addition, with approval of the lead tribe, the third party can manage funds on behalf of the tribal consortium, and the third party must get consent from the consortium to assist with award management and receiving funds on its behalf. And we will dive into both the vouchers and teaming and consortia in a bit. All right, next slide. Okay, before we transition into what can be done with the funds, I'd like to highlight how DOE and others can support you. We will go into further detail later in the webinar as well. We're here to help out at every step of the way. When you're first deciding how to expend EECBG funds, we've got two great options. First, you can check out our program blueprints. These are 13 high-impact project ideas with step-by-step instructions on how to promote project success. And examples include energy planning, energy efficiency, renewable energy, workforce development, and more. You can also connect one-on-one with a technical expert at the National Renewable Energy Laboratory, or NREL, for up to 20 hours. They can help you with your application, figure out what kind of investment will be right for you. They will. This could include establishing goals and energy planning basics, and is completely free. When it comes to submitting the application, we've got lots of support there too. You can access some of our sample applications on our website, including the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Strategy, the EECS, which is an element of the application. You could join biweekly office hours to ask questions and listen in, or you can access one-on-one application support from the National Indian Health Board, which Aubrey will talk about in a little bit. But that's not all. We also have resources for implementing the project. We've got blueprint cohorts, which Rosie will explain in a later section. And we also have the opportunity, you also have the opportunity to apply to host a community energy fellow. This is a fully funded early or mid-career professional that can serve as a full-time support in your community to help administer your grant. All right, with that program overview, I'm going to hand it over to Shay, who will dive into examples and more. Shay?
Please. So next we're going to get into what can be done with the EECBG program funds. Go ahead, next slide's fine. And we're going to start with some building upgrades. Next slide. Great. So this building upgrade example project shows how you can make an impact with just $10,000 from the EECBG program. The Barona group of the Capitan Grande Band of Mission Indians use their funding to upgrade lighting in a government building to LEDs. This is helping to reduce overall energy use and costs in the community. Next slide. So next up are some vehicles and transportation projects. Next slide. Our Vehicles and Transportation Project highlight is from the Calusa Indian Community Council and shows how EECBG dollars can help accelerate goals. This community was able to contribute their funds towards the purchase of an EV fast charging station, helping to promote EV adoption in the area. Also, a quick note, the transportation projects are not limited to alternative fuel vehicles like EVs and charging stations. It can also include bikes, e-bikes, or even e-scooters for your community. Next slide. Next up, we have some planning projects. Next slide. EECBG program funds can be helpful in supporting ongoing planning efforts as well. In this example, the Kawana Bay Indian community is updating their strategic energy plan to identify benchmarks for reducing energy use and emissions. For these updates, members of the tribe's Committee for Alternative and Renewable Energy will collaborate with a consultant to complete the project. Because this tribe chose the traditional grant, they are able to choose their own consultant. Next slide. All right, so this tribe based in Idaho used the technical assistance voucher to develop an electric vehicle plan for their reservation. For the technical assistance voucher, DOE assigned NREL, the National Renewable Energy Lab, as the consultant to work with the tribe and help develop a plan. Next slide. All right, last up, we have some examples of energy audit projects. Next slide. This project highlight shows how our teaming option can be paired with the technical assistance voucher to complete energy audits. Chenega Village and Chenega Corporation in Alaska teamed up to pull their funding and apply for the technical assistance voucher to receive audits of their residential buildings. Because they applied as a team, only one application had to be submitted for this project, and most reporting will be completed by the TA provider selected by DOE. Next slide. As a final project highlight, we wanted to show how EECBG funds can be used to support other grants your tribe may be pursuing. A popular program with the same application due date as ours is the Tribal Home Electrification and Appliance Rebate Program. Dollars from this program are meant to support residential electrification and appliance updates. EECBG funds could be used to help plan for and promote this program in your community, such as conducting home energy audits, or planning and outreach strategy. Next slide. All right, so now that we have reviewed a few ways that you can use your EECBG program dollars, now it's time to decide which application option might be right for you. Next slide. We've mentioned a couple of times today that the EECBG program has developed a few different application options, some of which can help reduce the administrative burden of applying and reporting on a grant. There are two application types, either the traditional grant or voucher. Then tribes can apply either individually or with a pooled application. Next slide. Now let's dive a little bit more into these two application and pooling options. The main difference between a grant and a voucher is that the traditional grant offers maximum flexibility for project planning, such as covering staff time and allowing you to select your own technical assistance consultant. However, the grant application can be quite long. On the other hand, the voucher option offers a shorter application for streamlined projects that focus on either equipment installation or technical assistance services. In terms of pooling funding, tribes can have the option to apply as a team, just like the native village of Chenango and Chenango Corporation, or tribes may apply as a consortium, where they pool funding but select a third party to assist with applying, reporting, and project management. Note that a consortium cannot apply under the voucher option. Next slide. All right, so next we're going to dive deep into the two voucher options, equipment rebates and technical assistance. First up is the equipment rebate voucher. Equipment rebate vouchers are ideal for straightforward projects that involve the purchase and installation of equipment, such as lighting upgrades. Tribes that would like to pursue the equipment rebate option should start by submitting a short application. When filling out an application, you'll need to know what type of equipment you want to purchase before you apply. However, you don't need to know the make and model or specifics. Once approved, you can purchase and install equipment, then file for reimbursement. Note that any equipment purchased prior to submitting an application and receiving approval is not eligible for a voucher. Next, we'll dive into technical assistance vouchers. Technical assistance vouchers are best for both tribes who want to do planning projects, such as developing an energy strategy. Tribes who would like to choose the technical assistance option should also start by completing a short application where you describe your desired project. DOE will then assign a technical assistance provider who will work with you to identify a scope of work and complete the desired project or deliverable. Note that with the technical assistance voucher, no money is exchanged with the tribe. Allocation dollars go directly to the technical assistance administrator for services. This arrangement means that the technical assistance voucher has the shortest application and fewest reporting requirements of different application options. Next slide. To help increase the impact of your dollars, we also have a few options for tribes to pool or combine their funding. Tribes that want to pursue a pooled funding option can choose to apply as a team or as a tribal consortium. Teams select a lead tribe to apply, manage the grant, and coordinate with DOE. Under the tribal consortium option, the consortia selects a lead tribe, just like the teaming option. However, that lead tribe can select a third party to help prepare and manage the award. The third party can also directly receive and manage EECBG funds if authorized by the consortium. While we have a few options for pulling funds, tribes may still choose to apply independently if that's preferred. Under an individual application, the applying tribe will serve as the primary point of contact and be responsible for all award management. Again, it's up to you to decide which application option is right for you. Next slide. All right, here we're going to dive a little deeper into the consortium model. Some examples of third parties that you could use or partner with under consortia include intertribal organizations, advocacy groups, health organizations, or any trusted partner agreed upon by the consortia. Our hope is that by forming a consortia, participating tribes can then complete larger scale projects like bulk purchasing equipment, conducting a regional planning study, or helping to fund a community solar project. Additionally, consortiums or any tribe can apply for a community energy fellow to help support their efforts. Next slide. Next, we'd like to make a note about the reporting requirements of federal awards. The frequency and volume will depend on the type of report and also your project details. Some reports are due weekly, while others are due semi-annually, annually, or just once, such as the location report. The main takeaway here is that the voucher application option has the least amount of reporting requirements overall, and pooled applications offer the opportunity to combine reporting. The technical assistance voucher in particular has the fewest reporting requirements, as the technical assistance administrator will assist with completing reports. Additionally, projects that do not involve ground disturbance or contracted labor also have fewer associated reporting requirements. Next slide. All right, so now that we've reviewed the different application options, you might have an idea of which one you want to pursue. We're going to go over how you actually apply for the EECBG program. Next slide. All right, so we're going to kick off this section with a few common application misconceptions. First off, you do not have to have a fully developed plan or project in mind to begin the application process. Second, it's okay to change your mind. Even if you begin applying or submit an application, we can change the type of application or even the project if needed at a later date. Last, it's important that you submit your indication to apply as soon as possible so that we can know you're interested in our program and meet with you to figure out the best path forward for your tribe. Next slide. Applying for the EECBG program can be broken down into 4 main steps. Step 1 is to learn about your options for applying, which you've already done today, so definitely take a moment to pat yourself on the back for taking time out of your schedule to learn more about our program and attend this webinar. Step 2 is to submit your indication to apply. As we just mentioned, you do not have to know what your project is going to be to complete this step. So if at the end of this webinar you know you want to apply to our program, please submit that indication to apply as soon as possible. Step 3 is to prepare your application, and we have several resources to support you in the application process, including one-on-one, no-cost application support from the National Indian Health Board, NIHB, who is on the call with us today. Finally, step 4 is to submit your application by May 31st, either in Page for the traditional grant option or in the voucher portal for the voucher option. I'd like to note again that when pulling funds, you only need to submit 1 application. In that case, you would identify a lead applicant who would submit an application on behalf of the group. Next, we'll dive deeper into each of these steps. Next slide. All right, on this slide, we have a list of the many resources available to you to help you learn more about this program in addition to the webinar you're attending today. At the top, you can see that you can review your allocation amount. We have a program guidance document, which provides a lot of detail about all the eligible use areas, including examples of each. We have new resources that highlight project examples with simplified applications and project management. And you can also look online and see a list of projects that we've already awarded. You can take a moment to look in your region, see what other recipients are up to, maybe what other tribes in your region are doing, and use that as inspiration for your project. We also have a set of shovel-ready projects and guides that we call blueprints, and they include a diversity of projects, including energy planning. We'll get a bit more into our blueprints and the associated services with those later on. Everything that is blue on the slide is actually a link that you can click on, so you can definitely use this presentation as a resource once we send it out after today. Next slide. On a previous slide, I mentioned you do not need to know exactly what project you want to do before you submit an indication to apply. All you need to know is if you want to apply for the traditional grant or voucher option. You can also change your mind at a later date if you get into the process and realize maybe you want to explore a different option. There are 2 different ways to submit your indication to apply. For the traditional grant, you'll send a pre-award information sheet to our program inbox. This is a fillable PDF that can be downloaded on our website or by using the link here, completed and sent to eecbg@hq.doe.gov. For a voucher, you can register directly on our voucher portal linked on this slide. To submit your indication to apply, you will need to know your unique entity identifier, or UEI number. This number helps us to verify the identity and banking information of applicants and make sure that payments go to the right place. You can look up your UEI, renew an expired one, or create a UEI at sam.gov. If you do not have a UEI number, you will need to create one. This process can take several weeks, so ideally, you should start this process as soon as possible, just in case there are delays. And I will say one more time, you do not need to know exactly what you want to do to submit an indication to apply, just if you want to go with the voucher or grant option. I want to underscore how important it is to submit an indication to apply as soon as possible, so we can connect you with the resources to complete an application. Next slide. The next step is to prepare your application. These are just some highlights of what might be included. However, the contents of your application will vary depending on your plans and the type of application you are completing. What I want to highlight here is that we have many resources listed on this page and available to you to help you apply. We have sample applications, we have one-on-one application assistance, we have strategic planning support. So even if you've submitted your indication to apply, but you're not quite sure what you want to do, we can connect you with someone or a resource who can help you decide and move on. All of these resources can be accessed on our website at any time. Next slide. All right, finally, it's time to submit your application. At this point, you've learned about our program, you've identified a specific project that you want to complete, and you've outlined it in your application, whichever one you might have chosen. I do want to highlight that there are two different portals for submitting a full application. Pages used for traditional grants and the voucher portal for voucher applications. So do make sure that you're gaining access to the proper portal. We have sample applications on our website to take a look at so you know what questions you'll be answering. You can also log into these portals and check out the application before you start it so you know what to expect. Again, the voucher application is shorter, with the TA voucher being the most streamlined option. Also, a team or consortium only has to submit one application, no matter how many tribes are in your group. Next slide. All right, now with that, I will turn it over to my colleague Rosie to discuss some common misconceptions of our program.
Hi, everybody. I will cover misconceptions versus reality. Next slide, please. So one of the comments that we get frequently is the juice isn't worth the squeeze for the amount of the allocations. However, we have several examples. We've had 132 tribes and Alaska Native villages and corporations that have started the process or completed the application, and they average about $13,000. They're pursuing projects such as HVAC or LED light upgrades, EV infrastructure and planning. The voucher option is designed to support local lower allocation applications. So one of the other areas that we hear about is capacity. A lot of entities may not have the capacity or the administrative functions to do these grants. So many options that we have is the TA vouchers, projects without Davis-Bacon or NEPA. And additionally, tribes can pool their funds and only submit one application via a team or through the consortium through a third-party entity. For example, Native Village Incorporation in Alaska teaming on village energy audits can include their admin expenses in the project costs. That's for the traditional grants only, though. The other misconception is about the having to do renewable energy. Energy efficient projects are eligible, which can reduce electrical bills without changing the source of your power. Example is upgrading your HVAC or replacing your lighting through using LEDs, purchasing windows and doors. Of course, renewables like rooftop solar are also eligible. Next slide, please. The other misconception is that you need a full-blown energy efficiency conservation strategy. Your EECG strategy must include a goal, right, for increased energy efficiency and conservation, and then a plan for meeting that goal. The goals can be pulled from existing plans that you might already have, like facility master plans or transportation plans or energy or climate plans. An example would be, to retrofit a tribal building. The goal could be to reduce the building energy efficiency by 5%. And the plan could be to retrofit the building with more energy efficient systems like an HVAC system or lighting. DOE requires that my tribe council ratify my EECS. No, actually, that's not a requirement of this application. However, your tribe bylaws may require it. DOE will return in 10 years to evaluate my EECS. DOE will not measure the results of your EECS. You will report to DOE on the impacts of the funded activities through required progress reports, though. And you can visit our website to look at sample tribal EECSs as well. Next slide, please. Resources available to you. Next slide. So what is available to you? You have the opportunity to get a fully funded early mid-career energy professional a community energy fellow for up to 12 to 18 months. We currently have 26 fellows that are supporting EECBG program projects and other energy efforts nationwide. An example is Burns Tribe in Oregon. They have an EV planning development, and their fellows helping with the siting and procurement planning for a fleet electrification. Howard and Baltimore counties, Maryland, their fellows supporting their audit and benchmarking efforts in municipal buildings. Miami-Dade County, Florida, and Partner Solar United Neighbors, their fellows supporting their low-income solar program. And you can apply for the to apply for a fellowship. There's a link here in this slide. So you can use that to apply for a fellow. Next slide, please. EECBG program blueprints. Audrey mentioned this at the beginning. So they're resources to assist with ideas and design and project implementation. Blueprints are guides, right? And they have like step-by-step instructions for high impact EECBG program eligible activities. They have ideas for tribes with small funding amounts. They have blueprints how to guide for tribal communities, and they have blueprint number 3D, which is a renewable resource planning blueprint. So other blueprint topics for reading and cohort meetings, there's comprehensive energy planning, energy efficiency, renewables, transportation, financial solutions, and workforce development. We have a blueprint cohort, which is basically a group of people get together monthly, and it's led by experts, and they discuss their projects. They look for ideas. There's monthly training sessions, and there's opportunities for you to network with other entities that are possibly doing the same thing you're planning to do. And you can sign up for these cohorts using the, forget what it's called. Yeah, you can sign up here. Next slide, please. So no cost application. Sorry, there's things popping up right now. Okay, no cost application from NIHB. And I believe that Audrey is going to take over from here.
Yep. Thanks, Rosie.
You're welcome.
Hi, everyone. Aubrey again. I work with the National Indian Health Board, and here we have one-on-one no-cost application support. So we can provide a variety of support for your EECBG application, whether that's project and program design, the application process, or any application review. In order to request technical assistance, you can email us at environmentalhealth@nihb.org, and we will be in touch with you within 1 week. I know there's a lot of information that's coming at you right now with this program, so we're here to help sift through it, talk through different ideas, whether it's working with your pre-award information sheet, talking about different blueprint options. We are here to help, and we can connect you with others who may need, who may be better suited to assist you as well. So again, reach out to us, environmentalhealth@nihb.org, and one of us will be in touch with you. And with that, I will pass it back over to, I forget who.
It's me, Audrey. Thank you, Aubrey.
Audrey, thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Aubrey. We're really excited to be partnered with you all and grateful for the collaboration. Go ahead and go to the next slide. It looks like we already have a request in the chat for support. Love it. Okay, so I just have a few more slides before we dive into the Q&A portion for today. First up is the Community Energy Connectors, which is a new opportunity from the EECBG program team, and that aims to establish a network of regional organizations across the country that will provide technical assistance and capacity building to support EECBG program communities. The goal is to establish this network to strengthen local clean energy support systems, help EECBG communities create and advance clean energy and efficiency strategies, and to set up communities for success after EECBG. We've set aside $6 million in total for this opportunity over 3 years to be distributed across the selected organizations. We're looking specifically for nonprofit organizations, intertribal organizations, and other eligible entities with experience supporting governments. with clean energy and economic development goals. If you collaborate or work with a nonprofit, intertribal organization, or other organizations that may be interested, please help us spread the word and encourage them to apply by January 28th, 2025 at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And to reiterate, this is a paid opportunity for selected partners to provide services and deliverables to EECBG program governments. Individual EECBG communities will be able to receive technical assistance through the selected partners once this community energy connectors network has been established. So again, January 28th. All right, next slide. I'd like to flag that we've had several webinars that might be helpful for you, including trainings on our application platforms, also trainings about reporting and more. You can check out the list here, and it's also on our website. And I know Shay already mentioned, but all of the blue is clickable links, so you can definitely use this as a resource as well. Next slide. Just to highlight once again, we are here to help. You can join our biweekly office hours. You can reach out to NIHB for one-on-one application assistance. You can contact our program team directly through that eecbg@hq.doe.gov. And we're really looking forward to hearing from you all soon. All right, I think that brings us to Q&A. Next slide. Yes, so I've talked enough. Let's hear from you. I'd like to bring up my colleague, Rosie, who will highlight some of the questions that you've asked in the chat thus far.
So hi again. So we're going to go over some of the questions that you presented, and we'll all take turns answering your questions. So one of the questions we have is, does the teaming option mean that if a tribe has multiple departments or agencies, that those departments or agencies can all apply for this grant as a tribal entity manages the overall grants? Audrey, would you like to take that question?
Sure. So teaming is actually when multiple tribes, different tribes use their applications, like they pull the funding together. So it's not necessarily different departments within a tribe teaming together, but separate tribes pooling their funding together with one application. They only have to submit one application, and there's also consolidated reporting requirements. So just slightly different than what you expressed in your question. So.
Thanks, Audrey.
Mm-hmm.
Another question is, the tribe has authorized TDHE to apply for the tribal appliance rebate program, electrification and appliance rebate program. And it's asking, is this considered a third-party option? Can the tribe apply for the energy audit under EECBG? Shay, do you want to try to handle that question?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'm hearing a couple different things in there. The first part that I'm going to answer is a little bit similar to what Audrey was just saying. The consortia is really supposed to be made up of multiple tribes. And so I'm not 100% sure what the TDHE is. I think it's a tribal designated housing entity, right? I think there's a case in which they could act as a third party, but the third party should really be assisting a consortium of tribes, so multiple tribes working together. If you're applying independently as a tribe, you can certainly have, seek out outside assistance with your application preparation, but you as the tribe have to be applying and receiving our funding. And then there's a second question in there, I think, about whether the tribe can apply for energy audits under EECBG. Yes, definitely. So you could use our technical assistance voucher to receive energy audits if you wanted to use that to prepare for the HERE program, the Hone Energy Rebates and Electrification Program.
Thank you, Shay. Another question is, may we receive NREL technical assistant hours in addition to the allocated budgets, or should NREL be allocated funding from grant voucher budgets for its TA? So I'm going to answer that. So there's actually two things happening here, right? One is, through the voucher program, you can get TA assistance along with the equipment rebates. And then there's an additional 10 to 20 hours of assistance directly from NREL, right? So there's two forms of technical assistance. Okay, so the next question is, is FedConnect required as part of the application or award process? Audrey, would you like to tackle that one?
Sure. So Fed Connect on the traditional grant side is where we send the terms and conditions and where you like get your award package. So it is used a part of the award process on the traditional grant side. Correct me, right, Shay, you're not on the voucher side, right? Yeah. So it depends on which side you are. So it's maybe involved in your selection. So
Question 5, if our consortium intends to apply on behalf of all of its members, tribes can DOE tell us if any members have already applied separately so we can exclude them? I don't have, Andy, do we have any data on which tribes have submitted their applications yet?
Hi there. Yeah, so we can share publicly what tribes have submitted their applications. And we wouldn't specify around a specific tribe, but we can share a list of tribes that have submitted full applications.
So what I suggest is that you can reach out to us when you're interested in applying, and we can give you an idea of who's applied in your area, right? That's associated with your tribe.
Yeah, and could I just add on there too, I would still encourage you to reach out to those entities though, because if they've only indicated that they want to apply but haven't submitted, it's possible that they might want to join your consortium. And depending on where they are in the process, we could still allow them to do that. So if you want to work with tribes in your area, definitely still reach out. We encourage that.
So here's another question. For any tribes or consortium reps that want to join the community energy connectors, we as a native TA provider are arranging a team application here. And I don't believe that's a question. I think you're just providing a link where people can connect with the community energy connectors. Is that how I'm reading that? Okay. Another question is, how can we reach out for assistance with the application process? Audrey.
sure. I think maybe I can answer part of it, and then I'd like to kick it to Aubrey as well to share a little bit more about how they can help with the one-on-one application. But to start, you can reach directly out to the EECBG inbox, and you can get connected with the project officer in your region. And then you can also email Aubrey. I think they'll put the email in the chat again for NIHB. And maybe, Aubrey, do you want to talk about a little bit more about the ways that you're helping with the one-on-one assistance?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Audrey. Again, so we have a generic email. I'll add it in the chat again here, environmentalhealth@nihb.org. So you can reach out to us there. You can also check out our website, NIHB.org. And if you kind of go to the environmental health section, there'll be information about the Tribal Environmental Justice Technical Assistance Center. So this is where we get our funding to be able to provide the one-on-one no-cost technical assistance to those who are requesting it. So I'd like to just also provide a couple examples of what we've done in the past. There was a tribal community in Region 9 that we assisted, and they used some technical assistance to secure funding for conducting energy audits and some solar panel installations. We had our role there was providing guidance on the correct blueprints to use for the EECBG funds, and then we're able to review and edit their application materials. Another example that I'll share is a different tribal community in Region 8. We were able to talk with them about some transition from coal mining to renewable energy. So there we were providing some guidance on different activities that the EECBG funding can be used for. And we kind of started that tribe on the path to creating a strategic energy plan. So those are just some of the examples, but I always say there's no question that's too small. So you can reach out to us and we can either help you find the answer or put you in touch with someone who can.
Thanks. Thanks, Aubrey. So here's another question and a compliment. Hello, thanks for the presentation. Okay, the second tribal example. I believe was the tribe that applied for a voucher and used the funds to purchase, install EV chargers. Do you know how many EV chargers they were able to purchase with their EECBG allocation? The question is, yeah, how many EV chargers? And this one's for Audrey.
Sure, yeah, I can speak to that. So the Calusa Indian community that Shay shared earlier used their allocation to supplement the cost for an EV charger going in for public use, actually at their mini mart. And so they were already had a project in place, and they hadn't purchased anything obviously before because you can't do that. But they had 3 lined up to purchase, and they used their funding to augment the cost of one of the chargers. They chose a fast charger, which they're more expensive, and so it only offset a portion of one of the chargers. But there are other options depending on that could have lower cost. So yes, it went towards one EV charger.
Great, thanks, Audrey. Let's see. I'm not quite sure which questions are being answered in the chat, so let me go over here and take a look for a second. I'll share. There is a question if there's cost share. No, there isn't. I'm not sure if it was responded to in the chat or not. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. Here's a question. If we choose a voucher application and want to use it for a renewable energy study for our farm, can we partner with another agency such as Alaska Energy Authority? In other words, can we choose who we want to assist with the study? And I'm going to ask you, Shay, to answer that.
Yeah, that's a great question. And it really highlights one of the main trade-offs between our 2 application options, the traditional grant and the voucher option. So if you go the traditional grant option, you can choose your own consultant, technical assistance provider, whatever you want to call them. But if you go with the technical assistance voucher, DOE is hiring a consultant that will service all technical assistance vouchers. So in that case, you cannot choose the provider. So that's something else to consider when you're choosing between the traditional grant option or voucher option application.
Thanks, Shay. Another question is, I'm worried about the amount of reporting required with this grant. What types of projects can I pursue to make sure this has a minimal amount of reporting? I'm going to go to Shay again.
Yeah, no problem. Overall, if you want to have the least amount of reporting, the technical assistance voucher option is your best option for that. And the reason for that is that technical assistance provider, since they're receiving your funding directly, is actually going to complete those reports for you. You'll still have oversight of that. There'll be transparency. You can review them, make sure that you agree with everything that's outlined in the reports, but you'll have assistance there. And so beyond that, if the technical assistance voucher isn't the option you want to pursue, right, because not everyone here is probably going to want to do that, there are some ways to think about your project to reduce the reporting requirements. And so, for example, if your project doesn't require ground disturbance, right? If you don't have to dig up the ground or install something in the ground, then you can get rid of some NEPA reporting. If you don't have to hire a contractor to do installation, then you can get rid of some reporting there related to labor compliance. And so we do have a couple different resources that are really helpful with thinking through the project type and how that might impact the reporting requirements. And it's a flyer on streamlined project options. And I think that someone might have just dropped it in the chat for you guys. It's also linked in this presentation. So when you get it, definitely keep an eye out. And it'll give you some, high-level project ideas that can avoid some of those reporting requirements.
Another question is, I'm curious about the Community Energy Fellow program, and would we be allowed to hire the Community Energy Fellow we want, or would you all just assign one to us? The way the process works is we have you apply, we have other community energy fellow candidates apply, and we try to match you up with those community energy fellows. That's not to say that we also encourage you to find and have people that are interested in being community energy fellows apply so they could get vetted. So yes, but we would try to match you up with, depending on what it is that you say in your application you're looking for. Let's see.
I think we had a new one, right, that about technical assistance and residential energy audits that just popped up. It said, I think I heard that you can apply for technical assistance for residential energy audits. If this is true, does DOE have someone in the region that can do a site assistance? So Shay, I think this is another TA voucher question.
Yeah, it is. So for the technical assistance voucher, we're actually in the final stage of selecting our provider, which is really good news for anyone here who might be wanting to pursue that option. And yeah, so one of our requirements built into our contract with them is that they have to be able to provide localized services. And so they will be able to provide audits in your area. And if you think back to those example project highlights we had early in the presentation, Chenango Village in Alaska has been able to receive energy audits from us. So I think that just shows that we'll be able to provide audits in a diversity of regions, no matter where you are. So yes.
Thanks, Shay.
Yeah.
Another question is asked, they're saying 11,000 seems pretty low, right? But we mentioned earlier that there's a potential to use the tribal electrification and home energy rebate program in conjunction with the EECBG program. So that's another funding source that you can try to tap to do your project. Okay. Let's see. Can you provide some examples of consortia? Can we try, Audrey, can you try to provide some other examples on how a consortia can work?
Sure. I think we mentioned some like bulk equipment purchasing might be a good way. I know we've heard some of the barriers in more remote areas is really like the cost of even getting equipment in. So I think a consortia model might be a good option for folks that might have those types of complications. Also, shared energy manager. We have some more information on that if that's something that's interested on geographically close tribes that might want to share resources across, and that can also stretch the funding. And then we've seen the tribal home, as Shay's I think touched on a couple of times, the energy audits, going in on one like teaming or consortia style application for conducting those energy audits right across the tribal communities as well. So
as well as the lead tribe could potentially also apply for the community energy fellows to help the consortia, right? So that's another option.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, thank you all for your questions. I really, there were great questions, and hopefully you'll consider submitting your application as quickly as possible. So I'm going to ping back to you, Audrey.
Sure. Well, thank you everyone for joining. We really appreciate it. Please do reach out to Aubrey at NIHB, for application assistance, and don't hesitate to reach out to our inbox and get connected with your project officer or get connected with the voucher team if you select that option. Thank you for your time today. And just as a reminder, you will be receiving the slides, which have live links in them. So please do use it as a resource. And thank you again for coming.